members who have participated in the discussion initiated by Shri Shashi Tharoor. First of all, let me clarify that a strong banking system is essential for a strong economy. Banks give credit from agriculture to housing to industry to all sectors. And therefore, the ability of the banks to lend has to be maintained. And when banks are able to lend, it is only then that they are able to support growth. Now, the lending capacity of the banks also depends on capital adequacy. And that capital adequacy has been impacted on account of these NPAs. We've had a discussion on several occasions on the origin of these NPAs, so I am not getting into that political aspect of the discussion. But one factor which Mr. Kirit Somaiya did substantially answer to Mr. Shashi Tharoor, and I had an opportunity last week also to reflect on that point in this House. Between 2014 and thereafter, why did the NPAs increase? They didn't increase because fresh loans were given. They increased for a simple reason, that an asset quality review was undertaken by the Reserve Bank of India to determine in 2015, to determine whether the NPAs as stated are the real NPAs or are they really more. And they found by a process of standardization or evergreening, accounts which were NPAs were not being shown as NPAs. And therefore, rather than keep the dirt below the carpet, the RBI decided after this asset quality review that these NPAs must be stated. So this was an ethical exercise which was carried on. It was a prudent and a proper exercise, and not anything to do with UPA versus NDA, as Shashi Tharoor tried to make it out. And that is why bringing to surface the hidden NPAs itself, therefore, truly reflects the real picture. This real picture existed even in early 2014, except that it was not being declared. Now the question is, do we just go on with a blame game with each other, or do we correct the situation? Now, in order to correct the situation, in August 2015, I had announced an Indradhanush scheme. Now, in the Indradhanush scheme, 70,000 crores spread over 3 years from the union budget was pumped into the public sector banks, which is an exercise which we are completing now. But that seems to be obviously inadequate, because after provisioning, the amounts have really increased. And you need to put in more money as far as the banking system is concerned. I think one question that Shashi Tharoor raised, and which Mr. Mohammad Salim also used a different word, he said, is this a subsidy to the banks? Well, I think this is the question to be considered, that when government owns these institutions, such bailouts then become a responsibility of the government at times. They may not be an ideal idea. The other options are the ones which are criticized more. And that is how internationally, after the Lehman Brothers, once G20 went into the whole situation, with regard to private financial institutions, the idea of bail-in begins. As to why should, and in India it has become a custom, and particularly every time friends like you suggest that government must pump in more money. So if airline passengers are flying and a public sector airline is lost, the taxpayer of India must subsidize them. If banks have given loans to industrialists, and some of them are sitting in London and some have not repaid back the money, the taxpayers in India must subsidize those loans. This is the whole concept with the moral hazard, and I am glad Shashi Tharoor today used this phrase, and this is for this House, that how long can these bailouts really continue? That we penalize, because after all it's the taxpayers' money which should be spent, as members have raised the issue of the water problem. Members have raised the issue of fertilizer for farmers. Now, should this money be ideally be spent on them, or should it be used to supplement what some people are refusing to return to the banks? But we have no option. We have to keep the bank system strengthened. And therefore, this is a moral hazard with the bailouts. And that is why this bailout really is taking place as far as the banking system is concerned. I think Mr. Mehtab raised the issue of the Basel III norms, but having international norms casts a certain amount of confidence in our banking system. And I want to assure this House that with this kind of infusion and with the support of the government, we are committed to keeping the public sector banks in good health. And one of the reasons, and that's the distinction between the private and the public sector banks that Mr. Salim made, private sector banks have been substantially indulging in retail lending. In a retail lending, you buy a house or you build a house. You buy a car. There is a security inevitably there. But if an infrastructure project is to be supported, if large industry is to be supported, public sector banks, to be fair to the public sector banks, have historically performed a great role in those, rather than only confine themselves to safe retail sector lending, and therefore the risk element involved in the public sector banks inevitably has been more. And that is one reason why it's important at this stage of the Indian economy to keep them in good health. So I'm glad that every member agrees that there is no option but to strengthen them. This year we take these bonds, we issued bonds worth 80,000 crores, and this has nothing to do, I may clarify, as Shashi Tharoor wanted to know, with regard to the increased equity that the banks may issue. Now, if the banks have been slow in issuing equity, one of the reasons is that you issue an equity at a time where you get the best price. And therefore, you get the best price when you are in good health yourself. And therefore, it's only prudent that we improve the health, and then each bank decides at the appropriate time as to what is the best time that it can issue its own equity, additional equity, so that they are able to raise the price from that equity itself. That is where the balance amount between 1,35,000 crore and 2,12,000 crore, the balance has to come really out of that, except in some cases some sale, etc. may take place. And once this money is introduced in 80,000, I can tell you that the Department of Financial Services already has a detailed plan which is ready with regard to which are the banks to be selected with regard to which this capital adequacy is to be added, norms with regard to their professional functioning. There will be a series of reforms which are going to be announced at that stage, along with the capital infusion, so that the banks are able to function independently, autonomously as good board-run institutions and are able to serve this country. I'm extremely grateful once again to the honorable members who have supported this.
I shall now put the supplementary demand for grant, third batch for 2017-18 to the vote of the House. The question is that the respective supplementary sum not exceeding the amount on capital account shown in the third column of the order paper be granted to the President of India out of the Consolidated Fund of India to defray the charges that will come in course of payment during the year ending the 31st day of March 2018 in respect of the head of the demand entered in the second column thereof against demand number 31. Those in favor may say aye. Those against may say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The supplementary demand for grant, third batch for 2017-18 is passed. Item number 30B, Honorable Minister.
Sir, I seek leave to introduce a bill to authorize payment and appropriation of certain further sums and out of the Consolidated Fund of India for the services for the financial year 17-18.
The question is that the leave be granted to introduce the bill. Those in favor may say aye. Those against may say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The leave is granted. Minister may now introduce the bill.
Sir, I introduce the bill.
Item number 30C.
Sir, I seek leave to move that the bill to authorize payment and appropriation of certain further sums from and out of the Consolidated Fund of India for the services in the financial year 17-18 be taken into consideration.
The question is that bill be taken to consideration. Those in favor may say aye. Those against may say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion for consideration of the bill is adopted. The House will now take up class by class consideration of the bill. The question is that classes 2 and 3 to stand part of the bill. Those in favor may say aye. Those against may say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Classes 2 and 3 stand part of the bill. adoption of the schedule. The question is that the schedule to stand part of the bill. Those in favor may say aye, those against may say no. I think the ayes have it, ayes have it. The schedule stand part of the bill. The question is that enacting formula, the question is that class 1 enacting formula and long title stand part of the bill. Those in favor may say aye, those against may say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Class 1 enacting formula and long title stand part of the bill. Somebody wanted to raise? What? You want clarification? You asked what?
No, actually, sir, ये जो अनुसंधानों की जो पूरक मांगे उस पे तो हम पूरा इसमें समर्थन करते हैं, लेकिन मेरा एक ही विषय था, ये बहुत गंभीर है और with the permission of the house और जो सदन भी हमारे साथ सहमत होंगे, आप जिस अभी सुने होंगे 2 दिन पहले चीन का एक ऑलरेडी जैसे डोकलाम वाले एक इशू हुई थी। नहीं, आई एम सेइंग बट दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सर। ये रोड्स के लिए आपने 15,908 करोड़ शायद आप इसके प्रोविजन प्रावधान रखें सर। इसमें हमारा एक छोटा सा रोड है जीदो तो बिसिंग, और जहाँ क्या हम चीन के लिए रुकेंगे रोड बनाने के लिए, वहाँ जस्ट 35 किलोमीटर रोड है और वहाँ हमारा सेना पूरा वहाँ अभी नहीं है, वो हमारे जवान थे। Just, you know, it is on the budget. See, I'm telling you that our people, they are so देशभक्ति का भावना इतना है, पत्थरों से उन्होंने बुलडोजर्स को रोके। तो इसलिए मैं कहूँगा कि सर इसमें आप जो प्रावधान रखें, इस रोड का आप जरूर रखिए जीरो टू बिसिंग का, क्योंकि ठीक है हम जो आपका जो इस बार का जो इसमें हम बजट का जो आप प्रोविजन उसमें सहमति रखते, इसको प्लीज ख्याल रखिए विदेश मंत्री और आप सर। धन्यवाद सर।
The minister may now move that the bill be passed.
Sir, I move that the bill be passed.
The question is that the bill be passed. Those in favor may say aye, those against may say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted and the bill is passed. The House stands adjourned to meet on Friday, 5th January 2018 at 11 a.m.